Hello guys, and welcome to my first LoL commentary. Yeah, here's Last Decider. I'm pretty excited about it. Today I want to show you how to play Thresh and what you have to know about this champ. And I hope my English is not too bad, so please forgive me my language. And maybe if you didn't understand something quite well, just ask about it in the comments and I will explain it to you properly. So, to start with Thresh, first I want to tell you how your item build should look like. Then I will show you all warding mechanics I am using. Then I want to move straight into his abilities, and at least I will finish my tutorial with the proper runes and the masteries you need with Thresh and which are the most effective in my opinion. Okay, for now let's see what you have to build with Thresh. Thresh is an assassin, a tank, and also support. Yeah, weird combination, right? No one would think of Thresh as a big assassin, in my opinion, but he can be played that way. To start the game, it's most effective to buy Relic Shield, 2 cookies, if you have the right masteries, and 1 ward. The Relic Shield has some good features, such as the extra life and the passive, which gives you and the ADC the same amount of gold from a minion, and you also gain a bit of health. They're like stacks you regain over time, and it's not really that much gold you get, but it's just helping to survive the lane phase, let's say it that way. In my opinion, it's also stronger than the ancient coin, the yellow support item, although you don't have the extra movement speed from the active of it, or the mana regeneration you got later, but I think you should play Thresh tanky, so this is the most useful support item in my opinion. And you can also compensate the mana regeneration with Mikael's or Righteous Glory later. I will explain it to you. But as the first full item you have to build the blue ward item, since supporters are supposed to ward the whole game, and it's very important for you to ward early and much, especially in the river, but I will explain it also later when I'm coming to warding. So just let's say the ward item is the first item you're buying after you have your standards like Relic Shield and the cookies and the normal ward. Then after you bought the ward item, you can either buy Chalice, since it's giving you mana regeneration and you can use your skills more often. It's also very effective if you have to compete against RP supports like Sona or Soraka. It's just for staying in lane longer. For me it's working pretty well, but most people just try to build Face of the Mountain first, and many don't really buy Mikael's or just in the late game. It's my opinion and I use it very often, so maybe you would like it too, but you can try it if you want. Buy Chalice either against RP supports, or you can also build up your Relic Shield to Face of the Mountain, as I said, for the extra life, for the shield you get as an active, because this shield, it's like you put it on a teammate and after 4 seconds it's exploding and you're having that extra shield. It's pretty effective. In laning phase, not very useful in my opinion, so try to use your own combinations and just build how you like, and that's it's situational at all. After you have achieved one of these items, it's your decision. I would buy any boots at all, just the standard boots for now, and then build the how they are called, right? Boots of swiftness. Most people buy boots of mobility, but they have one big disadvantage compared to boots of swiftness. The mobility boots allow you to be very fast until you get attacked. After some seconds out of combat, you're regaining your movement speed and everything is good again. But this isn't optimal for Thresh. As a support like Thresh, you have to engage on the one hand with extra movement speed, and you have to be able to escape difficult team fights. And this is not really possible with the mobility boots, since you lose all your movement speed in a team fight and the possibility of dying is much greater. Because of that, I always try to buy boots of swiftness to ensure my escape routes and to stabilize my engaging possibilities. You don't have that much movement speed like boots of mobility, but I think you're still pretty fast, and if you're buying Righteous Glory as an active later, you're well prepared for team fights. So yeah, it's the best. In my opinion, these are the best shoes, but everyone has its own builds. So let's get to his next items. By now you should have at least finished 3 items, and so most of them are just the normal support items. If you have Mikael's on the one hand, Face of the Mountain on the other, your normal ward item and your shoes. So there are still 2 places left you can fill with tank items. They are most useful because you're the support and you're engaging, so you have to take all the damage in most of the time. So you can either, if you're competing against any AD team, AD champs, you can buy Rendrins. It's giving you this extra movement slow as an active, and also makes you much tankier. Yeah, right. And on the other hand, if you're competing against any RP champs, like the enemy team has one RP champ on the bot lane, and on the top lane maybe a Maokai, on the bot lane a Sona, and in the mid lane an Ahri. It's much more useful to buy items like Spirit Visage or any other magic resist item. Just that you're tanky at least, and you can stay a little bit in the team fights. Not that you're dying as fast as an AD carry. Yeah, I personally prefer the Righteous Glory as the 5th item, since it's giving you mana, health, and health regeneration, and the active is one of the strongest in my opinion, since when you activate it in a team fight, your whole team is which is staying in the close to you is getting movement speed if you're facing the enemies, and you run towards them very fast so they can't escape that easily. And you can just pick out the carries with your hook, and the engaging possibilities are much better than using other active movement speed items. Since if you're close to the enemies, they're also getting slowed by 80%. That's also very, very much. This gives you extra tankiness, also movement speed, and your engaging potential is just much higher than with most of the items. So if you're able to build that, if you're earning that much money in the game, it costs really much. You're good to go, since most of the other support items are not really useful with Thresh. These are the ones who are really important in my opinion. So that's pretty much all about this build. When you reach mid game, like the 20th minute, or no, much earlier, if you've bought your first your ward item, you also buy how's it called? yeah, I think cleans. No, not cleans. Just the red trinket to just destroy all the enemy wards, and just to remind you, but I think most of you know that. Yeah, let's get into warding. I think that's all, everything I have to say about this build. At least find your own playstyle. This is just my opinion and just how I love to build him. So maybe you have better combinations. You can tell me everything. I'm open for every criticism. So yeah, just wanted to remind you that this might not be the actual optimal build, but whatever. So good. Now warding, right. Starting in the early game, or just in the lane phase, try to ward the following places. The river bush here on the bottom side for incoming ganks, as well as the tri-bush here on the left blue team side. When your ADC is going back, buying items or has very low health, you can try to leave the lane and you're going straight to mid lane for an extra gank to just roam and ward. And in this possibility you can ward the middle river brush here, or also the river brush on this side. And if you're playing on the red team's side, try to ward behind the dragon pit if you're trying to kill the dragon. It's very important, since if you're playing against any junglers like Lee Sin, they can just go over the wall very fast and try to steal your dragon with any smite or something. So it's important that you have vision around this area. Yeah, right. But if you're reaching the mid game, it is important that you buy at least one pink ward, that you set up defensively in this brush if you're playing on the blue team side, or on this brush if you're playing on the red team side. I think, in my opinion, red pink wards are most effective if you play them, or if you're using them defensively, since most of the enemies don't really look into these brushes till the mid game, so they are able to stay longer in these brushes, and they give you longer visions. Some people use them very offensively to clear wards, but I don't play them. I don't use them like them. So yeah, it's also situational, I would think. But everyone has to choose, and everyone has to think about how he uses wards, since it's very situational where your team stands, in which part of the jungle, or where you need the vision. It's just every game. It's other. Whatever. The wards around the Baron pits are also important for upcoming team fights. That you ward in one of these river brushes here, or if you're on the blue team, try to ward more offensively under the red buff. If you're pushing deep in the enemy jungle, then there are two key locations where you always need wards. This is the ward place for the blue team, also for the red top laner, where you can see all 5 ways leading to the second bottom tower. On the other hand, as a red player, always try to ward in this brush, close to the enemy mid lane towers. Yeah, all our ways are mostly too long on this side and not very useful to actually ward, because after all, if you're in a team fight, or if you're just running through the enemy jungles, these both the locations here can't be really not really used by many junglers. I think it's just effective that you know this place is important, since it's close to the mid lane. So yeah, and I think that's everything I want to tell you about warding. since these are the best warding spots as a bot lane support. There's also other spots for mid laners and top laners, but that's not the subject right now. So I will go straight to Thresh's abilities. Let's begin with his passive. His passive is a stacking passive, which gives Thresh for every soul a small amount of armor and AP. If you're missing souls in the early game and you only have like 35 souls after 50 minutes, which isn't really much, you're able to regain more souls by fewer minions. This helps you a little bit if you're barely surviving the early game to get back into the late. These souls are really important after all, since all his abilities scale with AP, and mostly the enemy teams have more AD than AP champs. You can also collect your souls from far away with your lantern, or sometimes they just fly great distance for whatever reason, that you don't always have to move to every soul laying on the ground. Pay attention to your enemies. Collecting souls sometimes can be critical, since it's also a special form of trading disadvantage in your game. Let's say you're on the bot lane and you want the souls from the minions, and you're getting too close to the enemies and they poke you down, like 400 health maybe. That's just a big disadvantage for the upcoming bot lane fight maybe, and that's not really cool. So always try to think, should I take that soul or should I stay defensively? It's situational, as I already said, for many other things. Then coming to his most beloved ability, his hook. The death sentence of Thresh is a modified blitzcrank grab, you can say. It stuns the enemy and pulls him slowly towards you. In a short period of time you can fly to the enemy afterwards, after you hook them, but the hook itself already has its disadvantages. Let's start with the disadvantages. It moves much slower than the blitzcrank grab, because first it has to be casted. You can see that when he's he uses his sieve and just whirls it in his hand, and then afterwards, after whirling it, he throws his hook, and already the hook, when it's flying, it's still slower than the blitzcrank grab. But on the other side, you also have the advantage that is stun, that you don't just pull the enemy towards you, like blitzcrank. He's directly in front of you. You can pull him slowly and a bit for bit. So you can already also decide if you want to engage or not. It's useful if you can if you see the enemy team suddenly, then comes out of nowhere and you see, oh no, there are more enemies coming, let's better escape. Or it's already bad if you have if you're grabbing someone with blitzcrank like Maokai and into your team, and he just engages onto your AD carry, and that kinda misses your team fight and you're just losing because of one blitzcrank grab. That's pretty shitty situation. So it's much safer than a blitzcrank grab if you're playing with Thresh. So already what is also important and good to know, the hook itself, if it's casted and if he's whirling the sieve around, your Thresh is not looking into the exact direction where the hook is flying. Let's say you want to grab the enemy ADC, as Blitzcrank, and your grab flies the same direction where you are looking. The enemies can see this, so they have more chances of juking the grab than a Thresh hook. The Thresh hook, on the other hand, is working the other way. Thresh is not looking in the same direction as the hook flies, so he can pull off some surprise hooks, like in this clip here. If you know this as a Thresh player, you are more likely to predict Madlife hooks. Madlife hooks in this case are just hooks which were pointed into a direction where the enemy might escape using special skills which are hardly to predict. To predict Madlife hooks, you need to know the following. First, where is your enemy most likely to escape? Most people just try to widen the distance between them and the enemy, moving to the safer towers towards brushes or other objectives. So you need to know where they are going. So you are calculating the way they take into your hook, and so you're able to hook more enemies, and also Madlife. You can also use Madlife hooks that way. Second, a Madlife hook is mostly based on skills the enemies use. So any invisible skill like a Twitch Q or a Shaku Q have great juking potential against Thresh. So try to calculate your enemy's next action. In the low elo area, people are most likely trying to escape the shortest way out of combat. Let's say they're directly going to the tower and just want to go back to base as fast as possible. While in gold players and higher are tending to sometimes choose the opposite direction of the escape route, like Shaco maybe uses a Q to get behind you and then to escape in a brush, something like that. It's better. It's more a better way of thinking to escape the enemy team or to survive. So these are the more difficult predictions you need to do. So you have to calculate more variables into the hook itself. There are also other skills like also if you're the Twitch Q, if he's going invisible and he's getting more movement speed, sometimes he might actually attack you and not just run away, because the jungler comes to bot lane. So yeah, you're actually in the middle of the team fight, and that's pretty bad. So better don't always try to Madlife hook if the situation is not safe. So but there are also other skills which are more safely to predict, like an Ezreal E, since you have vision of the enemy all the time, which is in my opinion easier to predict as an invisible target. So don't try to predict flashes, just for you to know. Never try it. They're the most complicated skills to predict, since you can never say if the skill of the enemy is on cooldown or if he would use a flash for escape, since it's the most important summoner skill. Sometimes it might work that you use a Madlife hook and on an Ashe, and she flashes, like in this clip here. But this is just luck. I really have to say that's not really has nothing to do with a really Madlife hook. It's I think that's not really mentionable in this case. So just try to use Madlife hooks on any escaping skills of a special champion, like an Ezreal, as I said. That's the most common example. Or also on any invisible targets. Just try to practice it, try to calculate, it's I can show you some. You can also watch some of my old clips. There are also some Mad Life hooks. So just try and normal games for now, and also always think about if it's worth engaging onto the enemy, or if you're just wasting all your skills and you're actually going to die in that fight. Always think rational. That's important. Yeah. Well, then let's get into his next ability, his W, which is his lantern. His lantern is a skill that can be thrown into a wide range around you. The lantern itself gives a shield to all surrounding teammates and also allows the first person to click on it to fast travel to you. This feature can be used for the following circumstances, like if you want your jungler to gank from your tower, just let him take your lantern to fast travel onto your lane and to surprise the enemy bot lane with a third player. The second possibility, most likely you use the lantern as a safety measure for escaping the enemies. So you can rescue your teammates by throwing a lantern at the feet. And the third possibility, you can throw the lantern in a team fight around you to give your teammates an extra small shield. It's also quite helpful in my opinion. And the last possibility, you can just throw it to teammates for whatever reason. If they are fighting the enemy team, any enemy champions, you're not reaching because you're too far away. Just throw it and you gain an extra assist if they kill them. That's actually pretty cool. So you have nothing to do than just throwing a lantern and you get an assist and extra gold. Yeah, that's pretty effective. Well, okay, that's all his lantern is doing. So there's actually nothing more to say about it. So just let's get into his flay, his E skill. His flay has an active and a passive. The active of the flay allows you to pull enemies towards you or push them away from you. A good use of your flay is actually against incoming junglers, where you can just flay, as example, a Lee Sin, who put his Q mark on you. You can flay them mid-flight, that they don't reach you and do damage onto you, like in this example. Or you can also stop a Sejuani Q, many possibilities. But if you're not escaping and you're going to engage after landing a hook, for example, fly towards the enemy and use your flay to push the enemy into your team. For the extra CC, just throw your lantern for your teammates to follow. That's pretty much all about the active. So let's get right into his passive. Which is actually a bit more complicated. Yeah, after a short amount of time, it's some seconds, the passive of his E skill loads up and you get extra damage onto your next auto attack, depending on your attack damage you have with Thresh. This is very useful poke tool, since his auto attack range is officially long ranged and pretty unique in the whole game set of League of Legends. This damage is mostly effective in the early game, so poke the enemy ADC as much as possible or a very squishy supporter like Sona while fighting on the bottom lane. Coming to his last ability, his ultimate, you need to know that all active abilities of Thresh are scaling with AP. His ultimate in this case deals the most damage. If you activate it, 5 wards around you rise out of the ground and deal damage to every enemy running through them. It's also slows the enemies around 100%, which is very effective in a team fight for you, since the slow is still affecting the enemy even if he runs into a second wall. The effect is just not that big, like the percentage of the slow is much lower. Also good to know is every ability of Thresh is scaling with AP without the E passive, but all active abilities, just that you know. so you can combine it with his passive, and you can stay and survive the late game a little bit longer. Well, that was everything about his abilities. So let's get to the last topic, and the last thing I want to explain to you, that are the runes and masteries. Well, here you can see right here runes. I have a special rune page. It's not very common, since it's my personal favorite. I use attack damage marks, since the attack damage on the marks are the biggest. And I filled out 9 of these runes into the red marks, so you get after all 8.5 attack damage. Then I have 9 seals of armor, so you get 13 armor after all. Or yeah, right, 9 seals. And then I have around 6 magic resists, glyphs, sorry, yeah, my English, great. And around 3 ability power glyphs. The ability power, in my opinion, is very important for your skills to use in the early game, just not for your flay passive to put the damage onto your enemy, also for your abilities. So your hook makes more damage, the active of your flay makes damage, and yeah, it's in my opinion, it's just more effective than just going full tank. Since I'm the one who's actually very aggressive in the lane phase, and for that I have a great quintessence of ability power, one armor quintessence, and 1 magic resist quintessence. I don't have health quintessences or any health runes. Many people use them, but I'm not really a friend of them, because they take just the space for the armor and for the magic resist. Since I'm also fighting very often against any RP supports, I need the magic resist. It's very important in my opinion. Well, that's everything about his runes actually, and his masteries. I have the typical 0, 9, 21 support masteries, support tank masteries. It's nothing much more to say. If you want to look all of that stuff up, maybe not always in my video, I have a special guide here, should be now in this video, and you can always, if you want, look it up and how I build them. I also rated how to play against other support champions and how hard it is, in my opinion. And yeah, everything, how you skill, how your abilities, by starting with the flay, maybe, or you can also skill the Q. It's your decision actually. So whatever, try out all combinations. You have many possibilities with items, you have many possibilities with wounds. This is just an example of how you can play Thresh. For me, it's working. So yeah, if you have any questions left or any requests for me, just write me anywhere in the comments. Maybe you've added me in League of Legends. Yeah, and thanks for listening. This is my first LoL commentary, and I'm out. Bye.